Welcome, welcome again. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for watching my channel, watching my videos, and thank you for showing up today. And thank you for your comments in advance, for your heart, for your light, for your liberation, and thank you for sharing, liking these videos. I want to talk today specifically to those of us who are healers, who have made the decision after being led, guided by their deep selves, by their soul, by their spirit, to step up and to work, actually work, in what I would call a professional way in the lingua franca of the 21st century United States as a healer, just as I have done now for the past 2 decades. What I want to talk specifically about is charging for our services. And I'm going to frame this in part within the context of what is happening today in the United States and show you a pattern of relevance that is extremely important as we consider if we are going to charge for our healing, therapeutic services, spiritual services, and what we are going to charge. The first thing I'm going to point out is that the best way for governments or a group of people or religious institutions, under whatever guise, to undermine a people and to keep them malleable is to make them or keep them sick. Why? Because when people are sick, physically, mentally, emotionally, they don't have the energy or the wherewithal to resist. They live with brain fog. They struggle to put food on the table, a roof over their heads, and that effort is all consuming. This is happening today because as power is taken away from medical professionals, for instance, in the United States, what is going to happen is people are going to get sicker and sicker, and many people are going to die. And this is part of the playbook of authoritarianism. And we can see it around the world in a variety of human cultures back through history. So one of the key parts of this is the attack on the people who help maintain the mental, emotional, and physical health of their people. It is well known that Europeans and their descendants who came to the Americas, here in North America, what did they do in order to undermine the native peoples? They targeted their healers. They targeted their spiritual teachers, their wisdom keepers. They actually would undermine them by saying that there was something bad or wrong with them expecting some kind of remuneration in kind or in cash for the services that they delivered. Now, it's very true in many subsistence indigenous societies that the healers, the shamans, by whatever name, would participate in the agricultural or hunting activities of the people in addition to their work as healers in whatever capacity. But increasingly as well, there were also medicine people who devoted their lives just to delivering the medicine. And yes, often they were given gifts by the people they served. They were provided with food. They were provided with animals like horses and sheep. They were provided with clothing. They were paid in cash if that was the kind of the way barter and exchange worked, if that was the base. And this was true going back to the local native peoples in Europe and around the world on every continent. Because the fact of the matter is that every human being has to put a roof over their head, food on the table, has to have clothing, and has to also have the means to be able to be generous with themselves, their families, and others in terms of being able to afford or gift things that are, in service of creativity and fun and play. And so fast forwarding to 20th century, 21st century societies where our economies are based upon actual money and where money is exchanged for services and products. And so this is the basis on which people like me, and as well as physicians, nurses, psychologists, and so on, are able to put a roof over their head and food on their table for themselves and their family to provide. This is the nature of life in a human body. So, the wounding messages that have been planted in communities back through time in the Americas and in my ancestral home places in Europe, as well as in Africa, Asia, the Pacific Rim, all around the world. When Europeans went out to colonize all of these places, and even before they began to venture beyond European borders, they were colonizing the European cultures themselves. What did they do? They undermined the livelihood of the people who kept the people healthy and balanced, and who also helped maintain harmony among members of the community. Because communities divided by conflict, by hurts and harms and hatreds, which are all a part of human experience. But when you don't have the leaders, the intermediaries, the shamans, the healers, the medicine people, the psychologists, the physicians, to heal these rifts or to at least quiet them down, then what happens is that you can manipulate people and pitch them against one another. All right. So I know that a lot of people, and I hear this from a lot of my students and clients who are working in therapeutic healing capacities, particularly when it is a non-mainstream healing or therapeutic modality, such as what I do, shamanic energy healing. And there is this worry about feeling bad about charging for their services. And what I want you to understand is that this is an ancestral wound. It is a wound that is in the collective trauma body of humanity. It is a wound that has resulted from the burning of witches, the torture of so-called witches. And usually in patriarchal societies, they would go first after the women healers because they were among the most vulnerable and because they were also the ones who were making babies, because if you want to take over a culture, you need to keep them from procreating. And then they would eventually go after the men who were the spiritual leaders and the healers. Look at Martin Luther King Jr., for instance, as an example. So another way to do it is simply to undermine their livelihood so that they do not thrive. And so one of the things I'm going to tell you here today is it is imperative that if you are a healer, a shaman, it is imperative that you thrive financially. It is imperative for your ancestors, for it is healing this ancestral soul sickness. And it is imperative for your descendants, and it is especially imperative for healing our world today. You are needed, and that means that your strength, your safety is needed. The safety of your families. And in our world today, having money, in part, gives you that. Safety means that our bodily needs are taken care of. We can pay for health care when needed. We can pay to go to healers for ourselves when needed. And so charging enough to support yourself is a healing imperative for you, for your family, for your community, and for humanity as a whole, and for this planet in these times of peril and promise. So, it is not about money or getting rich. It is about healing. It is about helping others and this world be a better place. And that is inordinately valuable. Thank you for listening. And if you are interested in learning more about my teachings, my shamanic energy healing work, about my teachings on awakened heart shamanism, you can go to the link below. You can also listen to my podcast, Sacred Activism, for ending violence and peacemaking. In every domain, in every way, as a social scientist, a shamanic healer, a spiritual teacher, and a human being, I try to make my own positive impact for you, for my family, my community, for our human family, and Mother Earth, all beings. May it be so. Aho, Wado.